people ask the kind of questions that, they come on these forums or whatever it is, and okay, well, like, they ask questions that are similar to this. Okay, you have 5 seconds. Tell me how I can become great. Okay, like, this is stupid, nonsensical questions. Um, because these kind of questions are entertained and they're supported by the experts who give nonsense answers to nonsensical questions. I don't, because I I don't get any interest. I have any interest in doing that. If someone wants to be great, if someone wants to achieve peace or freedom or whatever it is, something, these are not small things, and I don't believe in small things. These are not small things. And in order to achieve these are like these are like generational things that virtually no human in the history has ever achieved. So there's no like podcast answer to these kind of questions, and they're fair to ask in terms of one's desire to achieve such things. That's fine. But well, how can it be that it doesn't require a systematic journey? It requires. I mean, I have clients that, uh, you know, we've been going through this for years, and they still have only moved like 5%. Now that's 5% than anyone else has moved, but that's not a competition. But the point is, even after years, while they have gotten X, Y, and Z from it, uh, it requires a systematic journey. That's what we have been on, in a repeated exposure to truth and diving deep into their mind and disassembling all of the conditions, the conditionings, and the poisons that have seeped into their bloodstream. Uh, This is serious stuff. I mean, I I'm really annoyed by unserious people. I don't like unserious people. They annoy me. I don't think they're worth talking to. They're not. So serious people are worth speaking to. Serious people are worth having a journey with. Everyone, like I said before, everyone's a poser. So how can something, once again, you're an intelligent human being. You're not dumb. Okay. So how can something that is so rarefied not require a systematic journey? Whether it is, like you said, by oneself, perfectly, absolutely, or by seeking guidance. Either way, there's no right with one or wrong with the other. But if neither is happening, that's fine too. But then if neither of those is happening, then the desire must not be there, which is also fine too. But the person states that they do have the desire. So either they're lying, or that the desire isn't great enough. Something's got to give. And having said all of that, nothing is one. There's not even any evil in being a poser. There's no evil in that. That's fine. You can be whatever you want. But how can it not require a systematic journey? How can one possibly expect? Because if someone came on the podcast and they asked, like, "Okay, you got 5 seconds to tell me how to become a professional athlete and how to become the greatest in the world," everyone, even the most unserious person, would listen to that and say, "What a nonsense question." Everyone would say that. And yet, when it comes to these things, because everyone is supported and enabled by the spiritualists who give easy, stupid answers to these things. Oh, do some meditations and mindfulness, you know, because they actually, entertain these things. Then the human feels that they are not asking how to become great in 5 seconds. Well, that's exactly what they're asking. In fact, it's way, way more of a systematic journey to achieve peace or freedom than it is to become a professional athlete, or to become a great businessman, or to become rich, or to become. Those are actually more on the materialistic side, on the mechanical, technical side. They're not purely that way, absolutely not. But this is like has nothing to do with that. This is like 10 Everests beyond that. And that's ironic that the spiritualists actually dumb this down as if it's the smallest thing in the world when it's the biggest thing in the world. And what gives proof to that is even the spiritualists haven't achieved. Those who are prescribing these things haven't achieved anything themselves either because it doesn't work. So, logically speaking, how can it not require a deep systematic journey? If one has accumulated years and years and decades of conditioning and poison and wrong things, and they've operated their life and they have set up their entire foundation of their life, the fulcrum of their life, the foundation of their life is based upon things that are not true. I'm not talking about beliefs here and there. I'm talking about the entire daily existence of their life is sitting upon a foundation that is a lie, that is not true. That doesn't require a systematic journey. That just requires some tips and tricks. Really? That doesn't require going into the foundation and breaking apart all the nonsense over years. That doesn't. There's no tips and tricks for that. There's no. There's no prescription for that. So if there was a prescription, then there will be no systematic journey required. Which is exactly where everyone is. Everyone in the entire world is in the prescription land, trying to use prescriptions. They don't even know there's a foundation of lies, right? Humans don't even recognize that their entire life is based upon a foundation of lies, of untruths, of things that are simply not so. They don't even recognize that. They're just seeking more prescriptions, and that makes sense because when one lives upon a foundation of lies, when one's entire life is structured and sitting upon a foundation of fundamental untruths, that is going to lead to anxiety and fear and conflict and turmoil and disappointment and all these things. And no human wants to feel bad and suffering, and no one wants to feel that way. So they'll do whatever they can. So they'll seek the prescriptions. Why wouldn't they? The alternative would be just to be suffering all the time. And so they're going to do whatever. If a human being is drowning, he's going to do whatever he can to keep his head above water. That makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't he? Um, but I think the fundamental lack of understanding is the fundamental lack of exposure. There's been an exposure to prescriptions and nothing else. There's been no exposure to truth.